welcome to The One Show with Adrian Charles.
And Christine Blakely, and hide behind your sofas, kids, because the Sheriff of Nottingham's here.
I want Robin Hood's pretty little face on his pretty little head, attached to his pretty little body, on a pretty big spike outside my castle!
Oh, he's lovely, really. It's Keith Allen.
Was it a big ask to play that part? I sense you warmed to it very quickly.
Yep, had to do a lot of research, you know. Based it on Peter Mandelson. No, I didn't actually. I based it on Gordon Brown.
There's a real air of menace about it. Amazing stuff. As was the whole Keith Floyd story is simply unbelievable. What were your thoughts, making that documentary in the first place, and the night it goes out, the poor man passes away?
Well, weirdly enough, very intelligent people have come up to me since he died and said, "Did you plan it?" No, of course we didn't. I mean, it was a shock when he died. But I will say this, that I sensed that Keith came back to the country to watch it, actually, because we'd sent him a copy of the programme, and he loved it. He really did love it, you know. And he sent me an email on the Sunday saying he was back in the country, and he was looking forward to lunch with Victor Lewis Smith, who's Associated Rediffusion Television, who made the programme, with a view to doing some things in the future. And he was so excited about being in the country, knowing that people were going to be very upset, certain people in the cooking game.
I mean, we searched long and hard for a clip we could use, but a lot of the language wasn't appropriate for this time of evening.
No, of course not.
But we found a bit here which was suitable, and it's just talking about the demise of the family dinner.
From my understanding, now a lot of homes don't have tables. Kids who haven't been to school all day come back from not having been to school all day.
Hungry, because they've been running from the truant master.
Sounds as a kind of incredible tribute to him. Great to have you here, Keith.
Yeah.
Keith's in a revival, if you like, of a play, The Comedian, so we look forward to hearing about that a bit later.
This was the scene in Calais today as the French authorities took over the jungle, the immigrant camp, which has been home to thousands of people desperate to get into the UK.
That place featured in Anita Rani's film last night about the work of the UK Border Agency, whose job it is to keep those people out.
The film finished with Anita and the officers she was with closing in on a lorry's suspect cargo. Hey, John.
It's now 2:30 in the morning and only 3.5 hours to go before these guys finish their shift and head back to their homes in the UK.
Yeah, Lima 1, go ahead.
Lola the sniffer dog had alerted the team to a potential stowaway in a truck down at the ferry berth. Lola has been trained to bark if she thinks that there is some kind of life in there, I suppose. If she thinks there's illegal immigrants hidden in a truck, she will bark, and that's the only time she's going to bark. And right now, she's barking quite a lot. The German driver is asked to open his truck, and immigration officers begin their search.
Is there someone there?
There's two. Is it a definite two, or does it need further rummaging to be?
There's definitely 2 people on board. What they're going to do now is take the curtain off the side just to see if there's any more people in there.
Okay, no worries.
But the dog has found immigrants trying to get across. Then, a third illegal immigrant is discovered. All have come from Vietnam. I'm quite emotional. I don't know whether it's because it's the middle of the night, but it's just really shocking to see just real people prepared to go to that kind of a length just to get into a country where they feel that they'll have a better standard of living. It's just absolutely incredible. They don't look very old. And Vietnam is one heck of a long way away. Their journey just to get this far has been a relentless one, but this is where it ends. These 3 were just 10 minutes away from boarding the next ferry to Dover. They look really young. It's 2 guys and a girl. Where do you think they got on from?
At this stage, we don't know. I've got one of my officers, as you can see, speaking with the driver. We'll gain the information off of the driver at a later stage.
Right.
What we're now going to do is we're going to get the illegals searched here to make sure there's no weapons or anything on them.
But it's the French authorities that are searching them.
It's the French authorities that do it on our behalf, yeah.
The German driver says he didn't know about the illegal immigrants in the back of his truck. He too will now be questioned and could be facing a £6,000 fine if it's found that he hasn't carried out sufficient security checks on his vehicle.
Just be cleared.
Thanks very much.
Inspections like this are now a reality for every lorry driver passing through the port of Calais.
How do you feel about being stopped and searched every time you try and get through to Britain?
Well, it's annoying, but we just want to get home, don't we?
But as long as there are lorries, there will always be people willing to take their chances with the UK Border Agency.
Once upon a time, Calais was best known for stocking up on cheap booze before Christmas. Now it's blighted as both a place to work and to live. The closure of the Sangatte refugee camp in 2002 was supposed to relieve the pressure of migrants in Calais, but almost the opposite is true, and no one on either side of the channel is even remotely close to finding a solution.
Keith, what's your view?
Well, it's very tricky. I mean, obviously you feel for the Vietnamese people because they've come that far, and to be turned back at this stage must be horrifying, absolutely horrifying. I think also for the French to do what they're doing. I mean, if you look at what the mayor of New York did 15 years ago, I think it was that zero-tolerance policy in the centre of New York, which cleaned up the centre of New York, but all it did was shift the problem out of the centre of New York, which was then ready to be gentrified, and moved it into much poorer areas. And I think shifting those people on at that point, it won't solve the problem. It will just move it to somewhere else. They're pretty determined people, you know. And I've got to say, you know, you think about it today, I just read in the paper that the pound is now worth less than the euro. So the idea that you're coming here from a European country for a better standard of living, I don't think washes, to be quite honest. Especially if you're a potato picker in Norfolk or a cockle picker in Morecambe. It really isn't that great a life, I don't think.
We should say, for those Vietnamese there, which demonstrates your point about the intractability of this problem, they were held, the Home Office said us, the French authorities held them for 10 days and then released them. So they are probably now...
Yeah,
well, it's, you know, obviously...
Somewhere else.
And also nobody will take responsibility. You know, they are a rootless society, really, who don't, I think, want to be rootless. They want to belong somewhere.
Yeah.
And we must remember also, sorry I'm pointing,
No,
but
go on.
we must remember that this country has got a fantastic tradition of looking after political asylum seekers. You know, we are a country of immigrants, and I think the Daily Mail, and I don't mind saying it, their kind of opinion forming about they're all dole Q scroungers and don't deserve it is frankly wrong.
Yeah. I know you got views on this at home about, you know, why these people want to come here and what it says about our benefit system and so on. Do let us know what you think on the website. We'll read that with interest. Regular viewers of the One Show might have picked up on the fact that both Christine and I have distinctive regional accents.
No, I don't think it's noticeable at all.
Anyone picked up on that?
No.
We're an equal opportunities employer, though, so we also have some real poshies on the team.
Yeah, none posher than Giles Brandreth, who laments the passing of an era in which everyone on the BBC sounded like...
Giles Brandreth.
On behalf of the BBC, I offer a special greeting and a warm welcome to our new viewers in the Midlands.
According to George Bernard Shaw's play Pygmalion, it was here in Covent Garden that Professor Henry Higgins made a bet that he could transform an ordinary Cockney flower girl into a refined lady. And his secret, her accent. What Higgins wanted to do with Eliza Doolittle was erase from her voice any trace of where she came from. And to do that, he taught her to speak with an accent known as received pronunciation. R-E. In 1974, the fruit, vegetable and flower market Eliza Doolittle would have known
Lisa!
moved from Covent Garden, south of the River Thames, to Nine Elms. Cockney flower girls are in short supply nowadays, but I think I've found some likely lads. Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to my class. We're going to learn some received pronunciation this morning, and the phrase I would like to begin with is simply this. The rain in Spain stays mainly on the plain. Try doing it through my special horn. Project it nicely. The rain in Spain.
The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain.
That's very impressive.
Thank you very much.
He's been practicing for an hour last night. This is my first time. So
Okay, give it a go. Tighten the top of your mouth, and when you get to the word falls, just linger over the vowel, falls.
The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain.
I think he's got it.
Nearly.
I think he's got it, but not quite.
The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain.
Where do you come from, Anthony?
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire?
Yes.
Exactly.
The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain. That was
That's exactly the same.
Professor Higgins would be in despair.
Cold-blooded murder of the English tongue.
And so would Lord Reith, the first Director General of the BBC, who wanted his announcers to provide a model to the nation of how English should be pronounced.
Ladies and gentlemen, the television orchestra.
The rhythmic swimming display we're looking at now is being given by the Kingston Ladies Swimming Club.
I'm on my way to RADA, Britain's oldest acting school, and a beneficiary of Bernard Shaw's royalties from Pygmalion and its sister, the musical My Fair Lady, to learn more about received pronunciation.
You say either, and I say either.
We certainly want to produce speech that's clear and energised and muscular, and for that we use received pronunciation, or perhaps we might call it a standard English, as our basis.
What am I speaking to you now?
I would say you are speaking received pronunciation, and I would say that is probably more towards the conservative end of that scale. You would say vere instead of very.
But
Yes.
50 years ago, that would have been acceptable.
Yes.
As received pronunciation.
It would have been very fashionable as well to tap your arm.
Tapped R?
A tapped R.
What's the tapped
So a tapped R is where you just touch the upper gum ridge with the tip of the tongue.
Cold snow rarely melts. The modern way, cold snow rarely melts. Since the end of the Second World War, the British stiff upper lip has softened, and modern RP has become noticeably relaxed.
I name this ship Britannia. May God bless her and all who sail in her.
I mean, is it a reflection on the fact that our society is becoming more casual?
Maybe in an effort to sound friendly, to sound unintense. You know, we are losing a few of these sounds.
Also, is it possibly that we're ready to accept people sounding slovenly?
I wouldn't describe people with modern pronunciation as being slovenly, but I would make a real bid for L's at the ends of words and T's, because it's clear and because it shows a commitment to the word and a commitment to language.
Nowadays, we value regional identity, and fewer aspire to receive pronunciation. But if it disappears, are we in danger of losing something very precious? A spoken English that everyone can understand.
Good night, everybody, from Sutton Coldfield, and good viewing.
Keith,
It's lovely, yes.
are you all right with posh people?
Keith and I, obviously, are old friends.
Go back.
Well, actually, to be honest, we're not, but Lily and I are, and she's been saying for years, you must meet my dad. He's quite amusing in his own way. I'm pleased to see him. I've listened to his voice. It's a curious cross between South Wales and West Fulham.
Yeah, you're only saying that because I told you that my mother was Welsh and my dad was from Fulham.
Yeah, well,
there is
yeah.
absolutely no hint of it in my
The
book.
value to Lord Reith, the founding Director General of the BBC, of speaking received pronunciation was simply this. Two things. One, to be understood everywhere, and the other, to unify the country. Yes, we celebrate regional accents in the regions, but when the nation speaks to the nation, it speaks with a voice that we can all understand.
Obviously, it was a class thing. It was keeping the proles at bay, wasn't it?
Didn't quite catch that.
Intimidating.
And
I have to
it
look
lacks
at...
personality.
Yes,
it lacks
it's
personality.
of course.
I'm sorry. It sounds terribly nice.
No, but there are times when, not of course YouTube, because we have the lovely subtitles that are coming along continuously to explain everything, that it can be difficult. But we can all learn to speak with different accents. That wonderful taught me to speak Glasgow. Just don't move your lower jaw, and you suddenly find you're speaking Glasgow. Will you give it a go?
Well, hang on a minute. I'm not going to move mine and see what happens. Hi, Giles. How are you doing? That's not Glasgow at all.
No, because you are trying to think that you are the other Alan, the one who has Lord Charles. You're trying to be like a ventriloquist. Just give it a go. Would you give it a go?
You're gonna give it a go.
Give it a go. No, give it a go.
I can't do it. I can't.
You can do it. Go on, do it.
I can't do it.
Yes,
I
you
can't
can do it. Look, we know there's no such word as no in the one show.
Okay, the new.
Okay, the new. You're beginning to start Glasgow.
Trousers.
You're beginning to start. It's fun to play with accents. I agree with you. Regional accents, frankly, are the language that rolls up its sleeves, spits on its hands, and goes to work.
There's some people in Glasgow who want a word with you. We're sending him straight up, ladies and gentlemen. He'll be at the airport at about 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Thank you, Giles.
It's been enormous fun. Thank you so much.
Say, can I just ask, Giles, say tortoise.
Tortoise.
Say tortoise.
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 It's always
Tortoise is always one.
Tortoise.
Anyway, thank you. Extended paternity rights are on the government's agenda, which is generally considered a good thing.
Although there are fathers out there who still think dads should be out earning the dosh while their wives do the donkey work back at home.
In fact, a major study by a respected think tank, suggests that is how most families see the roles of mother and father.
Here's Justin Rowland, an old friend of the One Show and father of three, on how the business of being a dad has changed.
Back in the day, the role of the father was straightforward. He worked to put bread on the table while mum would bring up the children.
But for dads these days, things aren't so simple. Increasingly, modern fatherhood involves us dads playing a more active role in the nurturing of our children while still providing for our families. But is this dual role asking too much of the modern-day man?
A new survey by the Joseph Rowntree Foundation has found the majority of families think the traditional roles of father as breadwinner and mother as child rearer actually work best. Parenting expert and father of four, Dr. Arik Sigman, believes the roles of mums and dads are equally important, but fundamentally different.
Fathers parent differently and in ways that matter enormously. Mr. Mom is not where it's at nowadays, or else children end up with a mother and an assistant mother, and that's not what they need. In things like boundaries, discipline, just saying no, studies have shown that the lower tone of male voices and the volume has different physical effects on children. When they say no, it is more menacing, and it's important.
Journalist and father of three, James Dellingpole, is even more forthright on how he thinks the roles of mum and dad should differ.
We are designed for the dog-eat-dog competitive world of making money, bringing home the bacon so that mummy can do what she's really good at, which is look after the kids, obviously take a bit of time off to do her work thing as well, but mummy is there to worry, mummy is there to clean up, to multitask, all the things that girls are really good at.
This dad has opted for a 9-month sabbatical from his finance job to bring up his 18-month-old daughter while his wife goes back to work.
Much more rewarding to look after and raise your own children and see them develop in a way that I would have just missed if I was at work. You don't get the time. You come home, you put them to bed, if that, and a lot of time when you're working late, you don't even get to do that. So why have kids if you're not going to see them? For me to actually consider doing it, there's obviously been a shift in terms of what's acceptable and what's completely not acceptable. I'd have been ridiculed if I probably did this 30 years ago, but whatever that shift is, it's a good thing.
Now, we've just come from a guy who's chosen to give up his work to spend all his time bringing up his kids while his wife works. Now, are you saying there's anything wrong with that?
I'm not saying that men are not capable of looking after children, but it's like a dog standing on its hind legs. It doesn't make it a human being, does it? It can do that thing in the same way that men can do the kind of mother thing, but it's not their primary skill.
Some people would say you're utterly unreconstructed. You're like a kind of 1950s bloke.
Yeah, and other people would say, you are so totally honest. I agree with you, but I would not dare say the things you're saying because I do not want my ghoulies chopped off by all the women in the country.
Women are demanding equality everywhere from the workplace to the battlefield, and that's why we men should decide for ourselves what we think the role of a father should be. Because one thing's for certain, if we don't, it's pretty likely that women will do it for us.
We've different views on this, all of us, don't we? I just think it's a very personal thing. I know lots of women who want to stay at home and can't afford to, so...
Absolutely. From what you know of parenting, fatherhood, what would you say to them?
I think the argument about whether mums or dads should work is immaterial, really. I don't think it matters who works, to be quite honest. I don't think there's anything perfect. I think the most important thing is what you do when you're not working with your children. And it's usually to talk I just don't think...
And there needs to be time when you're not working as much
Yeah,
as
of course. But I think talk and listening is very important.
Of course, and every family's different, so you just try, as you say, it's not perfect, but you do your best.
Your two haven't turned out badly, have we? See you with Lily the pop star, Alfie the actor.
Oh, look at them there, my goodness.
No, look at me. God. That's it. Oh, look at them.
Yeah, they're both keeping well?
Yeah, really good. Yeah. It's fantastic when your children buy you Christmas presents that are more expensive than the ones you buy them.
Sign of their success, really is.
No, I don't think it is a sign of success. I think it's a I think so.
No, go with my suggestion.
But she speaks her mind, Lily, famously. Is that... I mean, did you discourage that at an early age, or just encourage it even when it was directed at you?
I'd never discourage her, but she's actually in the middle of kind of orchestrating a really good debate at the moment about file sharing, illegal file sharing, which I think has got a lot of people, including Mr. Mandelson, interested.
Yeah. Now, this play, The Comedians, that you're in, it fascinates me because it's about a group of comedians trying to get on in the world, but it was written and set in the 70s, and it's still relevant sort of 30 years on. Some plays achieve that, others don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting piece, this, because... And I didn't actually tell Trevor Griffiths, who wrote it. Yeah. I didn't actually tell him this. I saw a production very early, I think in about 1975, 76, with Jonathan Pryce playing the lead part. And I was an angry young man, you know, and I didn't listen to very many people. And I went to see it and I walked out in disgust.
Why?
Because I wanted to heckle. And I think one of the few times in my life where I actually bit my lip and said, no, don't. And I walked out. I just felt that they were trying to create this real club. And if it was a real club, I knew that I would heckle. Silly, I mean, it's stupid. But to get back to your point about the relevance of the play, I think now it's kind of... And one of the reasons I'm in it, I think, is because it's taken on an historic context. Do you know what I mean? At the time, he virtually preempted punk, if you like, with the character that he created. And now you can see the whole thing in a context. And I think it's as relevant now as it was then. You know, we are waiting for the new.
Yeah.
And I think the way that, you know, our industry is going now, it's so fractured, the new is upon us. It's not how it used to be.
OK, so it really is worth seeing The Comedians.
Yeah.
The Lyric Theatre, Hammersmith, London, from 7th of October till the 14th of November. Should we move on to Fat Pets now?
We should. Let's hope nobody heckles you. I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I don't play a part of any of the comedians.
No, yeah, exactly.
So I shouldn't have said that, really.
No, exactly. You just open the door for it now.
Keith, they can still heckle you. I promise you. I might come down and have a little heckle myself. Anyway, where were we?
Back to pets.
Yeah.
We're sorry to report there are some real porker pets out there.
Fatty felines, corpulent canines, be warned, Ellie Harrison's on your case.
This is Sandy. If you think he looks a little bit soft around the edges, you'd be right, because Sandy weighs 41 kilos, 13 kilos overweight. That's 2 stone. That's the weight of 120 chocolate muffins, which coincidentally are his favourite snack. But Sandy, my friend, all this is about to change.
In my opinion, pet obesity is an enormous problem. I think it's almost a bit like a pandemic, really, when we look at it.
Every day, the PDSA sees more and more obese pets. 5 years ago, it was 1 in every 5 dogs. Now it's 1 in every 3. And all those chubby cats out there can stop grinning as well, because 1/4 of all cats are overweight as well. Hence the Pet Fit Club campaign. 10 of Britain's fattest pets are competing to become the fittest. The entries came nationwide, finalists chosen on their size and their owner's motivation. Barbara Walton has already cleared out the snack cupboard as part of Sandy's 100-day diet and exercise regime. Barbara, how did Sandy get this out of shape in the first place?
Basically, because I overfed him on muffins, biscuits, anything I had, he had. I've got a soft spot for him anyway. I mean, he's my baby.
Sandy began as a lean, healthy puppy, but he's become widely known as too big for his basket, the perfect candidate for the Pet Fit Club contest.
I'm very pleased that Sandy's in this competition, but partly guilty. It's my fault that he's so fat in the first place.
What I advise clients, really, is that it is killing with kindness. If you're a pet owner, you're in charge of your pet's destiny. You're the one that opens the can of food, gives it the biscuit, all that kind of thing.
The competition gets underway and Barbara's taking Sandy to the PDSA's Essex base for a check-up and weigh-in. Sandy comes nose to nose with the Pet Fit Club opposition, Kelly Edwards and her Jack Russell Scamp, and Tracy O'Sullivan, son Dan, and their cat Chumley Bear.
Chumley Bear O'Sullivan, please. Hello. Come on in. OK, well, Chumley's certainly a little bit of a large size, isn't it? 21 inches, which is not a thin cat, really, is it?
So, Tracy, how did Chumley Bear get this big?
Steak and chips, cheese and onion crisps, anything really, even an odd rabbit from over the field. But now it's come to a point that he's having problems getting up and down off the bed.
Come on, that's it.
Next, it's the turn of Terrier Scamp.
OK. Well, as you can see, Scamp is a little bit overweight. When we assess his sort of shape, if you like, I can't feel his ribs, and he's certainly got a little bit of podginess around here. And what we've got here is 28 inches, which is more than my waist measurement, actually. Sandy Walton, please. Right. 32 inches, which is, I think, quite a bit more than it should be.
And there's to be no cheating at the weigh-in.
I'm afraid, Sandy, you have to have all your feet on the scales, not half of them. No. Well, you can see that his weight there is about 42 kilos, which is, you know, getting on a little bit, isn't it? Well, I mean, obviously my first impressions are one of sadness, really. I see animals that come into the surgery and they suffer such a lot of distress through being overweight. I think by entering Pet Fit Club, those owners are showing, you know, 110% motivation, and that's what they have to be to get their pet to lose weight.
Back home, Sandy's on strict rations. Carrots now replace muffins, followed by a walk in the park.
Well, our vet Elaine is here. Elaine, so basically there's no more feeding our pets from the dinner table anymore. We've got to calorie count.
Absolutely right. I mean, what it is, I find with my experience, it's those little treats that get put in there. When you think about your cat or your dog, I mean, the calorific intake does vary, obviously, with the species, but a sausage is about 140 calories. So if your cat is taking in, say, 300 or 400 calories a day, big contribution to it.
So, but you don't want to go over the top here. You don't, if the dog's just used to going out for a 20-minute walk, don't start dragging it for 4 hours and not giving it any food.
Absolutely. You want to do things gradually. It's a change of lifestyle, really. Don't go from couch potato to marathon runner, and that's where your vet can really help by giving advice about that. I generally say if the pet's a little bit overweight, then drop, say, the food intake by about 10% or something like that. But in my experience as a vet, it's the treats that are the big sort of downfall, really. Keep a food diary, work out exactly what you're feeding your dog.
How fat's your cat, Keith?
It's a kitten, and it's not fat. It's incredibly elegant.
Really?
And in fact, I was going to ask you, it's very difficult to keep the cat indoors.
Yeah.
And it's had its first injections.
Yeah.
It's having its second one next week.
Yeah.
But it's out and about.
Yeah, it should be about a week to 2 weeks after it's had its second injection to be
What?
absolutely certain that there's no problem.
Oh, no, so it might be in trouble.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, you have to do things, you know, gradually.
Okay. Charge him for that bit of advice, by the way. Coming in
Yes.
6 months.
Loads more information as well on our website, bbc.co.uk/The One Show. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you. Just one more thing.
Distressing scenes last night on The One Show involving an escaped frog. A pond, if not, why not?
No, I'll be honest with you, and I'm not trying to be difficult on live TV. I've never given it any thought whatsoever.
Oh,
there it goes! There it goes! There it goes!
What wimps. Many of you expressed concern about the frog's welfare. We're happy to report that all is fine and well.
Absolutely. He's in the hands of his owner. Carol there, looking extremely happy.
Yes. There we go.
We know.
We know.
We've had our best people on it.
Thank you so much, Keith. Good
luck
luck
with the comedians at the Lyric. Thank you very much. That's all for tomorrow. Mark Warren is here tomorrow. Join us then. Bye.
Bye-bye.